Hey everyone, this is Arvind from MindMajix, and today I welcome you all to this amazing session on what is JavaScript. So guys, in this particular video, we will be having a brief overview of what exactly is JavaScript. So after you finish this video, you will be having complete idea of what JavaScript is, how did it evolve, and what are the uses of JavaScript. So let us quickly discuss the agenda for today's session. So in this particular video, we will be starting with what exactly is JavaScript, and then we will be deep diving into the history of JavaScript, like how exactly did JavaScript evolve. Then we will also discuss the features and few of the limitations of JavaScript. Next, we will discuss how exactly does JavaScript work. After that, we will have a look at the applications of JavaScript, like the areas where JavaScript is widely used. And last but not the least, we will be comparing JavaScript with another very popular programming language, which is nothing but Python. So this is the agenda for today's session, and I hope this is pretty much clear and easy to understand. Before moving ahead, I want you guys to subscribe to MindMajix YouTube channel and also hit that bell icon so that you never miss an update from us. So without any further ado, let's get started with our video. So the first point over here is, what is JavaScript? So JavaScript is a high-level programming language that follows the ECMA script standard. It was originally designed as a scripting language for websites, but it became widely adopted as a general-purpose programming language, and in today's time, it is one of the most popular programming languages in use. JavaScript is pretty much unique because it can run directly into your browser, which is the web browser, and not just on servers. So along with HTML or the hypertext markup language and cascading style sheets or the CSS, JavaScript is one of the most commonly used programming language of the internet. In fact, 99% of all the websites today use JavaScript. JavaScript along with HTML and CSS work together to make up the most of the user-facing elements of websites and online web applications. So JavaScript brings the dynamism and interactivity to the website. For example, pop-ups, animations, videos, and social media embeds, drop-down menus, and many other website components can be created using JavaScript. Without JavaScript, web pages would be mostly static and boring. So this was a quick overview of JavaScript. Let us discuss about the history of JavaScript. So JavaScript was created at Netscape Communications by Brendan Eich in the year 1995. So Netscape and Eich designed JavaScript as a scripting language for use with the company's flagship web browser, which was called Netscape Navigator. So initially, JavaScript was known as LiveScript, but Netscape changed the name to JavaScript so that they could position it as a companion for the Java language, which was a product of their partner company, Sun Microsystems. So apart from some superficial syntactic similarities, though, JavaScript in no way is related to the Java programming language. So after its release, more and more browsers started adding JavaScript support. Still, for much of its history, JavaScript was not regarded as a serious programming language. Its earliest releases suffered from notable performance and security issues, but developers had no alternatives. So if they wanted to run programs in the browser, they had to use the JavaScript. They had no other options. In the year 2008, the creation of Google's open source Chrome V8, a high performance JavaScript engine, provided a crucial turning point for JavaScript. The subsequent proliferation of fast JavaScript engines made it possible for developers to build sophisticated browser based applications with performance that competed with desktop and mobile applications. Soon after, Rand Dahl released an open source cross platform environment called Node.js. So it provided a way to run JavaScript code from outside of a browser. So this freed JavaScript from the browser's confines and led directly to JavaScript's current popularity. So today you can use JavaScript to write all kinds of applications, including browsers, servers, mobile, and desktop applications. So most major online companies today, including Facebook or Meta, Twitter, Netflix, and Google all use JavaScript in their products. So this was a brief history of JavaScript. And now let's come to the next point of this session, which is what are the features of JavaScript? So JavaScript has a number of advantages that make it a better choice than its competitors. So if you talk about the features of JavaScript, the first point over here is the simplicity. So having a simple structure makes JavaScript easier to learn and implement. And it also runs faster than some of the other programming languages. In JavaScript, it is also very easy to spot and correct the errors. The second point over here is the speed. So JavaScript executes scripts directly within the browser without connecting to a server first or needing a compiler. Additionally, most major web browsers allow JavaScript to compile code during the execution. The next point over here is the versatility. JavaScript is compatible with other languages like PHP, Perl, and Java. It also makes data science and machine learning accessible to developers. The next point is the popularity. So plenty of resources and forums are available to help beginners with limited technical skills and knowledge of JavaScript. So if you are someone who's just starting to learn to how to code, then JavaScript can be a very good choice of programming language. The next point over here is the server load. So another perk of operating on the client side is that JavaScript reduces the requests sent to the servers. So data validation can be done via the web browser and updates only apply to certain web sections. And finally, the most important feature of JavaScript is the updates. So JavaScript development team and the ECMA International continuously update and create new frameworks and libraries, ensuring its relevance within the industry. So I hope these features are more than enough for you to convince that JavaScript is a very popular programming language. Now, let us move ahead and discuss some of the limitations of JavaScript. So guys, as you all must be knowing, no programming language is perfect, and JavaScript is no exception. So if you have a look at the limitations of JavaScript, the first point over here is it is a weakly typed language. So this means that it does not allow a programmer to define the variable type. A variable can store any data type at runtime, and operations assume the variable type. So the result can also be cast to another data type. So this can result in accidental coding mistakes and bugs in the code due to type errors. The next limitation is the browser compatibility. So different web browser interpret JavaScript code differently, thereby causing inconsistency. So therefore, you should test your JavaScript in all the popular web browsers, including their older versions as well, in order to avoid harming the user experience. The next limitation is that of a security. So JavaScript code that runs on the client side is vulnerable to exploitation by irresponsible users. And finally, the last limitation is debugging. So while some HTML editors support debugging, they are less efficient than other editors. Since browsers don't show any warning for errors, finding the issue can most of the times be challenging. So these were some of the limitations of JavaScript. And now let us just move on and discuss how exactly does JavaScript work. So all programming languages work by translating English-like syntax into machine code, which is then run by the operating system. So JavaScript is broadly categorized as a scripting language or an interpreted language. JavaScript code is interpreted. That is, it directly is translated into underlying machine language code by a JavaScript engine. So now if you talk about the JavaScript engine, so this is a computer program that runs the JavaScript code. The first JavaScript engines were mere interpreters, but all the modern engines use just-in-time or runtime compilation in order to improve or enhance the performance. Next, we have the client-side JavaScript. So client-side JavaScript refers to the way JavaScript works in your browser. In this case, the JavaScript engine is inside the browser code. All major web browsers come with their own built-in JavaScript engines. So if you talk about the overview of how client-side JavaScript works, so firstly, the browser loads a web page when you visit it. Then in the second step, during loading, the browser converts the page and all of its elements such as buttons, labels, drop-down boxes into a data structure which is called as the document object model. In the third step, the browser's JavaScript engine converts the JavaScript code into bytecode. This code is intermediary between the JavaScript syntax and the machine. In the fourth step, different events such as a mouse click on a button trigger the execution of the associated JavaScript code block. The engine then interprets the bytecode and makes the changes to the DOM. And finally, in the fifth step, the browser displays the new document object model or the DOM. And now if you talk about the server-side JavaScript, so this refers to the use of coding language in the backend server logic. So in this case, a JavaScript engine sits directly on the server. A server-side JavaScript function can access the database, perform the different logical operations, and respond to the various events triggered by the server's operating system. The primary advantage of server-side scripting is that you can highly customize the website response based on your requirements, your access rights, and the information requests from the website. So guys, I hope you have understood how exactly does JavaScript work. And now let us discuss the various applications of JavaScript. So the first point over here is creating interactive web pages. So as discussed earlier, JavaScript is responsible for almost any interactions you have with a website that result in a change on the page. So without it, the web would be incredibly limited. So common interactive actions enabled by JavaScript are, for example, adding items to a basket and making purchases online, expanding or collapsing content blocks at the click of a mouse, playing video or audio files on a site, displaying animations, using drop-down menus, and so on. The next application of JavaScript is front-end development. So there are a number of popular front-end JavaScript frameworks that help websites build great applications for their users. So these frameworks include Angular, React, and Vue. So some famous applications built by using JavaScript are Netflix, PayPal, YouTube, and Meta. The third point over here is backend development. So although JavaScript made a name for itself as a front-end language, being applied to HTML and CSS, it also has an impressive qualities as a backend development language. So frameworks such as Node.js mean that JavaScript can be used to build server-side code as well. The fourth application is game development. JavaScript programming isn't just useful to standard websites. JavaScript is also responsible for most in-browser games, great for killing a bit of time or for honing your skills if you're just starting off in the field of development. The next application of JavaScript is data visualization. So guys, there's a very popular library of JavaScript which is called d3.js, and with the help of this library, you can build data visualizations in your web browser. The next application of JavaScript is artificial intelligence. So recent development in the use of JavaScript is its use in AI. So JavaScript libraries such as TensorFlow have allowed developers to use JavaScript for machine learning, creating models that can predict future events based on the categorization of past data. So now let's move to the next point, which is very important. In this point or in this section of this video, we will be comparing JavaScript with one of the widely used programming languages, which is Python. So guys, in this particular comparison, we will be using few of the parameters based on which we will be comparing JavaScript and Python. So the first point is the release date. So JavaScript was released in the year December 1995, whereas Python was released in February 1991. So this makes Python elder to JavaScript. And now the person who designed these particular programming languages. So JavaScript was designed by Brendan Eich, whereas Python was designed by Guido van Rossum. And now the third point is the objectives. So JavaScript is a high-level programming language which is used to create dynamic websites and web applications, whereas Python is a general-purpose programming language with a focus on readability and simplicity. And now if you talk about the applications of JavaScript, so we have already discussed the applications of JavaScript, like it can be used in front end as well as the back end. You can create dynamic websites as well as web applications using JavaScript. Whereas if you talk about Python, so Python can also be used in web development, like there are frameworks such as Django and Flask, which can be used for web development as well. But apart from that, Python can also be used for game development, and Python is widely used in the field of data science, like data analysis, machine learning, deep learning, and so on. The next point is the syntax. So if you talk about JavaScript, it has mostly native syntax, which is a bit complex and has lower readability. Whereas if you talk about Python, so the small syntax of Python is easy to learn and it has higher readability than JavaScript. The next point is the learning curve. So JavaScript has a steeper learning curve compared to Python. And now if you talk about the Python programming language, so it has relatively general learning curve and is considered one of the easiest languages if you're a beginner. So now if you talk about the encoding format, so JavaScript is encoded as UTF-16 because of no support for manipulating raw bytes. And if you talk about the Python, so ASCII is the default source code for Python. The next point is modules and libraries. So JavaScript has a vast ecosystem of libraries and contains over 1.3 million packages. Whereas if you talk about Python, so it has many built-in modules, underlying attributes, and it includes roughly around 300,000 Python libraries. So guys, that's it from my side in this particular video on what is JavaScript. I hope you have understood all of the things that we have discussed in this particular video. If at all you have any doubts or queries related to this session, then you can write them in the comment section and we will try to resolve your doubts and queries as early as possible. So guys, thank you so much for being with us and I wish you all the very best.